Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us today. My name is Juan Carlos Brando, and I am enjoying so much today for having Ms. Wong connected with us. So please feel free to join us anytime that you are available. If you have any questions regarding to the immigration field, just send your question, ask your questions because we have a very, very experienced attorney, and not just whatever or any attorney is the attorney Margaret W. Wong, who has been working on this field for over 45 years. So thank you so much for joining us today. And please, let's welcome the attorney Margaret W. Wong. How are you doing today, Ms.
I'm
Wong?
very good, and thank you, Mr. Juan.
Thank you so much. Ms. Wong, I've seen some declarations from President Biden talking about the situation in Ukraine and the what President Vladimir Putin is doing. Even the Russian people are protesting against his actions. So President Biden mentioned some stuff yesterday, and I would like to know your thoughts about this situation.
Yes, because America is sending so much money and troops and weapons over. I think he's really trying to, to explain to the American people why are we so nice, because the world doesn't politics doesn't work on being nice. Politics work about competing interests, national interests, and what benefits America. Why are we doing all that? But regarding the uniting with Ukrainians, so instead of one person filing one I-134 to bring the Ukrainian people over, now they're talking about one different like one person can do more, like, or one family. I don't really understand it, but they're thinking of changing it. So I'm sure more and more would come on united with Ukrainians, and it's easier. And there's also a public uproar about why is it so hard for the Latino people, like CAM program, to come to America, but for Ukraine it's so much easier because just one person would sign the I-134 and people can come. And also for Turkish, because Turkey people are also suffering. So they're coming, they have to go through somewhere to go to Mexico and then come in. Or for Uzbekistan people who are living in Russia, they also have to go from somewhere to somewhere. So different country people are, and where do you draw the line? Because at first it's the hurricane people from Honduras in the 90s, and then there's still TPS on hurricane, and then El Salvador because of the dirty war, the civil war, the two TPS, we're still giving people their TPS, and then from Hong Kong, DED, and then of course the Venezuelans, TPS, and where does it draw the line? So now, then what? After the Ukrainians come to America, they're on parole for 1 year or 2 years. Then what? Because that gives you a work permit. I don't know if they also get any food stamps or public charge. Then what? It's like the Vietnamese people in the 70s, they came through Thailand. So America is evolving, So in the olden days, they can come as a refugee. The Chileans, they also came on parole, but sometimes they just don't even want to get a green card because they could get a lot of like Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps. But now I heard from different friends that the Ukrainians can only get a few months. So the world is changing. So I don't want our listeners to only think about Ukraine or about what President Biden say. Really look at all the whole picture. So because in America you have executive branch, of course, the lawsuit against Trump, the new court yesterday came up with something. They appointed Judge Kerry, and who is also, I think, I had some cases with him before he retired, so we sort of know he's very respected. Of course, these are, of course they're respected. I mean, these are federal judges. We won't even dare not to respect them. So, but the American public and our listeners, we need to remember always read the newspaper, because we are lucky, because you and I get local news, because I get a lot of Hong Kong news, a lot of Chinese news, because I read Chinese, So, and same with my Latino clients. So read world news, not just American news. But in America, always read the American newspaper. You read at least one local newspaper, like in Ohio, we're Plain Dealer. We have I also subscribe to Columbus Dispatch, because I have a Columbus office. But always read, and it's free anyway. Go to a library, go on your internet and read the New York Times, because it's more international, or the Wall Street Journal, which is also international but very pro Republican, pro Trump, pro death sentencing, pro against abortion. So read the different viewpoints. In Hong Kong, we used to have like more than 27 newspapers, and we all know, as readers, we know this newspaper is pro communist China, this newspaper is pro Taiwan, this newspaper is pro one China policy. So, so we sort of know. So I would like us to really read and write and understand. And that's why we are in America. We're not just here to get a work permit, to get a green card, to get a citizenship, to make a lot of money. We're also trying to be good citizens of the world, good citizens of America, and learn about culture, because a southern culture is very, very difficult, like Texas, Atlanta, and read the writers like Pat Conroy, write a lot of awesome books about southern. You have Hamilton, and the writer, Samuel Lin, is a graduate from Wesleyan. I think it's Wesleyan. My niece go there. He was also a star, because even before he wrote Hamilton, he already performed in the White House. So these are like the northern writers is very different from southern writers. East Coast writers like Joe Didion. They're very different from the Western writers. The Western writer, you like read about Devil Wears Prada. That's from a young writer. The Heart is a Lonely, whatever. There's a Southern writer. So these are things that I would love our readers. And I don't even know why I come to reading, but and Mr. Huan, you asked a good question. So my answer is listen to what President Biden say, but also read in the web. You have the USCIS policy memo. That's a memo that talks everything about. In the olden days, you have FAM, you have U.S. Department of State. They have different types of policy. Now they're all slowly into one policy. So start reading it. It's all free, because the more we read, the more we understand, like all these questions, all these answers.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for your answer and for all of your comments. Don't forget that you can call the phone number 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984, and you can ask your question to the attorney Margaret W. Wong, who has over 45 years of experience, and she has helped thousands and thousands of families every single year in the United States of America and even abroad the United States of America. So if you have any questions, please call us. The phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. It doesn't matter the city that you are at. You can find a way to get in touch with the attorney Margaret W. Wong. She has offices in 9 cities: Atlanta, Columbus, Chicago, Cleveland, Memphis, Minneapolis, Nashville, New York, and Raleigh, North Carolina. And the phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. Ms. Wong, this next question is, hi, what supporting documents do I need for C11 work permit?
And can you remind me what's a C11? C10 is a 42B work permit. What is C11? DACA is
C11
C33.
is parole at the border.
Okay. You need that. Yes. Now, let me explain to you, parole. I'm so glad you asked this question. Right now, there are 2 types of entry. Actually, there are 3 types. If you look at the NTA, the first square, second square, and third square, the first one is an arriving alien, which means you enter on parole. The second one is illegal entry. The third one is legal entry, but subsequent became illegal. All right. So the weird thing now that's happening at the border, and I'm glad you asked this question, question is when people come in on parole, normally you get an I-94, but now that America is so busy, denying people remain in Mexico for you to be, admitting people, but they sit in jail for 3 months, it's just in a mess, the border. So I've seen quite a few cases where they say, you're paroled into America, and in lieu of the I-94, this is all you're going to get. So if you file a C-11 work permit, you need that parole documents, you need the 765, you need also 2 pictures. I don't know if C-11 you can do email e-filing, but I know C-9 you could, C-8 you cannot. So check the web on uscis.gov. Now, on the other hand, I'm glad you asked this question. I also have seen NTAs because the NITS Chavez say NTA no date and time, you can terminate or dismiss. So now subsequently, ICE have been curing these NTAs. That means they give you an amended NTA with a date and time on it, so you cannot terminate or dismiss. On the other hand, I shouldn't say all, 95% or most of these NTAs, even though you were authorized for 1 year, you're paroled into this country, they say the second square, which is undocumented entries, you enter without a visa, is EWI, is you enter without a visa. So how do you reconcile I'm legally paroled into for 1 year, and you illegally enter? Parole is illegal, is directly opposite from each other. So if you do a C-11 work permit, of course it's $765, $410, 2 pictures, the paperwork authorizing parole, but make sure you file as soon as possible, because the work permit, unlike the asylum paper, C-8 or C-9, you get a 2-year work permit. It doesn't matter when was the 589 filed or when it was denied, whatever. Once it's approved, it's always 2 years. C-11 parole work permit is only good for up to the parole. So for example, I came to America on January 1st of 2021. The parole end is 1 year. They don't say the 1 year, but and we read the letter carefully, it says 1 year. So it expires instead of January 1st, it's December 31st, right? So if you only file it in July, because it takes immigration sometimes 3 or 4 months to 9 months to get it, it'll be denied because by December 31st, it didn't get it. Or if they adjudicate the case in, let's assume November 1st, and they will only be approved in December 31st or January 1st. It would not be approved like the C9, C8 that's good for 2 years. So if I were you, once you see the parole, you file it as soon as possible. Don't wait. Now, on the other hand, how do you reconcile the NTA, which says illegal entry and parole? So a lot, and I don't know if I'm doing it correctly because this is something new for me too. So I normally don't attach the NTA with it, because if they see illegal, because work permit is inland, parole and NTA is at the border. So work parole is CIS, that parole document and the NTA is CBP. So there are 2 different departments. They're looking and say, oh, I'm going to deny your parole, your work permit, because here they say illegal entry, even though you got a parole. Now, it depends on the officer. Some officer may still approve it because you were authorized. So normally I don't attach the NTA just to stop confusion. So the answer to your question is attach a check of $410. But if you also have a credit card, a debit card, you can fill out a form so you don't have to do the check. Do the 765 and attach the parole and add the 2 work permits and maybe a copy of your passport and stuff like that. But all these instructions are on the web, and the web is uscis.gov.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for your answer. I think it's very clear. You can just go to the USCIS website and see what the requirements are for this kind of work permit. So thank you so much. The phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. The next question is, I have a U.S. citizen dad and 2 brothers. I may get married to a U.S. citizen by March next year. What is the fastest way to get my green card? In the meantime, I came 10 months ago and turned in at the border. I was told that I can file asylum, but would it be a problem to have asylum and file through a family member? Thank you.
Absolutely no conflict. If I were you, since you still have your 1 year, maybe file the asylum anyway, because you want to protect 1 year. You can always withdraw, but once you're out of 1 year, the case becomes difficult. And personally, I never trust marriages. You only came 10 months ago, you're already getting married. So you may not know your husband that well. I mean, that's my personal take. If you're within 1 year, it doesn't hurt if you have a good story and a narrative, number one. Number two is since you're that's when you are paroled. So even though you think you enter illegally, but it's only 10 months ago the mess started, look at your entry. That's exactly the question before. If I'm paroled, if your NTA says the first square, which is arriving alien, you don't need to leave the country to get a green card. Arriving alien, you can adjust in America. And also, if you have a parole, just like the other person, how do I get a C11? If you have a parole, you don't even need the work permit. A parolee could adjust status. But if the NTA says a second square and you're paroled, that's when the conflict starts. So I would look at the NTA, I would look at the paperwork where you're paroled in, I would still file asylum if you have a good story within 1 year. Then, since you have a court case, I will file the I-130 after you're married next year. And if the court will allow you to dismiss the case, you have to go out of the country and come back with a 601A because you were here undocumented for more than a year. But if you're arriving alien, you can adjust status here. So for now, just check all your paperwork. And also, even if you don't file a marriage case, if you have an employment, a perm approval, I-140 approval, your father can give you a pardon. You leave the country and come back. That's an employment-based green card. But that will still take about 3 years, and actually 4 years, because right now 601A is taking a long time. So the marriage case would give you a green card in about, right now it's very slow, 3.5, 4 years, get the asylum, at least you get that work permit. In the meantime, you may even win asylum because you only came 10 months ago. President Biden is trying to adjudicate cases that came after May of 2022. I don't think it'll ever happen within 6 months, but you came before May, so slow down. I would file the asylum, get that work permit. You may still win asylum, depending on how old you are. The younger you are, the easier it is to do asylum. Also, if you're an unaccompanied minor, that means you came to America when you were under 18, then the case from court will go back to USCIS to give you another interview. Actually, these are complicated cases. Don't just assume I'm married to an American citizen, I can do anything. My father's a green card, I can do anything. It doesn't hurt at least have a consultation with a good lawyer who does this kind of work to talk about waiver, because if you're not happy with this, but not that I'm discouraging you from marriage, but I really think you just came 10 months ago. You don't even know America. You don't even know how to love yourself because you're in a new country, new world. How could so I would say you don't need marriage. There are other ways to do this case. I mean, of course you could get married, but if the marriage is really just to expedite the green card, it's up to you.
It could be complicated, and
Sorry.
I
It's
have
just my
to. I
thoughts. Yeah.
no, and it's true, Ms. Wong, and I am thankful that you are mentioning all of that because I remember a friend had a girlfriend. She's an U.S. citizen, and he was from my country, or he is from my country, and she would always think that he got married to her because he wanted documents. That's always her thought. So he has been struggling with that because every time they have an argument, she thinks or she says that she is giving him documents. And
That's
then
not fair.
he
Yeah.
gets frustrated because, yeah, because it's not fair that she's reminding him that he's here because of her. So it could be a tricky problem. So just make sure that you don't want to do that if you are not really, really, really in love, or do it in a funny way because you could be in so much trouble. And thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for clarifying all of this. We have a short question here. Do you take cases in Las Vegas, Nevada? or have any recommendation of attorneys there?
Yes, we take cases in Nevada. Nevada actually is a good place because number one is so highly regulated. Number two, it is a Ninth Circuit. Ninth Circuit and Second Circuit are more the liberal courts, and Ninth Circuit have Alaska, California, Seattle, Washington. So it's a very, very good circuit. So Vegas is a good place to have a good case.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for your comments. The phone number, don't forget, is 216-279-3984. 216-279-3984. The good thing about technology, Ms. Wong, is that we are not only in one place. We can be in any place in the world and do our consultations, and even more. Some of the motions and court hearings are done by phone. That's something that we got after the pandemic. It's very different, but it's somehow it works. Okay, so next question is, I filed asylum, but my family is in Cameroon. If I get granted, can I get them here?
Yes, I feel bad for you. Asylum from Cameroon, I have cases where sometimes it takes them forever to do sometimes even they know they're going to grant it. It takes months and months to get a final grant. A final grant means a fingerprint clearance. Yes, if you got a final grant, it has to be final, not just a verbal or something. Then you need the fingerprint to clear. Then you can do a 730. You don't need to wait for your green card to bring the family over. So 730 means that my family members were stuck overseas, and 730, right, in the olden days, 730 takes only about 3 or 4 months. Nowadays sometimes it takes up to 1.5 years. China, actually, the reason why we know, our law firm know a lot about 730 is because number one, we do a lot of Chinese cases. I speak fluent Chinese. But more than that, uh, you at one time under Trump or even under Bush and under Obama, 730, they were using certain country that have a high rate of approval for, because China is communism, of asylum grant. So the 730 at one time, if it's approved, like assume 6 months is approved, they don't even give you the approval. It's directly Federal Express. I mean, they call it diplomatic pouch. That's a term. But they pouch it to Beijing American Embassy or Guangzhou American Embassy, and then they invite the family to go to the American Embassy, American Consulate for the interview, and now they give you a final grant. They say 730 approved. So a lot of times it took me 1.5 years. I was getting mad at them, and then suddenly the family said, "Oh, I got an interview. I passed. I'm coming." I'm like, "What?" Because 730, they should have given you an approval after 6 9 months, and then it cable directly. 730, you don't need to go to NBC. You go directly to the American consulate, and he should be here. Another country that's having a lot of problems on 730 approval is Turkey. Um, I think Venezuelans are doing all right in 730 because it really don't go to Venezuela anymore. There's no more American embassy, American consulate, no more contact. So it goes to like Ecuador, stuff, Colombia and stuff like that. So it depends on the country. There was a time Syria is very, very fast. Like the Lebanese people, they go to Syria to get married, and like 2 months they'll be in America. Now Syria, of course, the past few years have a war, so it was bad too. So it depends on the country, the war and stuff. But Cameroon, my experience has been very slow, and I'm really sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. Don't forget that Ms. Wong has been working on this field for over 45 years. And if you want to get in touch with her, the phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. We have another question here. I filed asylum 2 months ago. I received my receipt notice. How long do I
To
need to
apply for
wait
work permit.
for?
Yeah. So you once you get a receipt notice, you should get a fingerprint notice pretty soon. You can apply for work permit 151 days after the receipt notice.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Wong. So if you need more help, just don't forget to call. The phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. This next question is, hi, ma'am. Can you please tell me what to do if CBP denies my entry on their own mistake. CBP brought someone's documents and said, "Why am I having them?" and denied my entry.
I don't understand the question. Are you saying that you came through the airport and they kicked you back because they looked at the wrong
They,
file?
I think they mixed up the documents that this person provided the documents, and they had probably some other documents on the table, and probably they took the documents, they checked them, and they say, "This is not you. Why do you have these documents?" And he said, "Well, this is not my document. You
Uh-huh.
took the wrong one." So
So,
they
which
denied him.
CBP did you, what country are you from? And did you come through the train from Mexico to America, the bus? Because airports normally don't make mistakes denying or they revoke your visa. If you give me more, that's an interesting question. They normally don't. I mean, maybe I believe in the system. I've been doing this for so long. I always trust America, even though sometimes they drive me crazy. So normally, there's unless it's a crazy airport like a Dubai airport or QEE or something. Um, but tell me which entry, which CBP, what documents. Maybe I can. I would love to answer your question.
Okay, so I wrote email to travelers, red rest,
Redress, right?
inquiry program to see the records how CBP put false case on me. The documents were not mine. They didn't believe. They did allow me to call anywhere. I am from Pakistan.
Oh, Pakistan. Which airport are you from? Pakistan. They just don't. I'm so sorry. They don't trust Pakistan. They don't trust people who's not. I mean, it's not Christian. Pakistan is not Christian. You split in 48. I'm really sorry. Tell me what airport and what documents they mix up. Are you coming in on H1B? Pakistan is not southern border. So if you tell me more, I'll explain to you on how to do it. But you did the right thing. Go to the redress complaint.
Okay, I think this person is going to answer or send more information very, very soon. But how likely is this to happen?
It normally don't happen too much. I mean, I don't think they make. I mean, sometimes they don't believe your story. Sometimes you come on H1B, and then it's with a phony university level education because uh, India, Pakistan, we all go through Bangladesh, we all go through the old British system, which means that we have 3-year bachelor's, 4-year bachelor's, and advanced. Like to be a lawyer, it's only 5 or 6 years there. To be a lawyer in America is 8 years. So it's a different education. Sometimes they feel that it's a phony H1B or something. That's not a problem. So if you feel they did wrong, whatever visa you come to America with, I would go back to the American embassy, apply for the DS 160 for $120, and then go back and restamp your visa and tell them it's a mistake. As
Okay, my
simple as
son and
possible.
husband are Norwegian. My son was with me. They canceled his ESTA. CBP asked me so many questions to my 5-year-old minor.
That's very good. So it's an Esther case, okay? Because I don't know. So you went to Norwegian to give birth to a child. So the child got the passport. You may want to give a. This is a very good question for our listeners because it's a third country national case, and it's only an Esther. That means if they check they sometimes they go to social media, check your phone, Esther cases are weird. You know what? If you think they made a mistake, I don't. It's an Esther case. I don't know if the son now is living in Norwegian or in Pakistan. Just go back to the America. But once the Esther is denied, is cancelled, they won't give you a new Esther. I would do a DS 160 and do what I tell you. But I would love to hear more about this, and let me know what airport. I can tell you why. Like Chicago airport is quirky, Atlanta airport is quirky, Houston is quirky, Miami is weird. So you just need because some people loves Miami. So I love Atlanta because we have an office there. I love New York. I hate New Jersey. I mean, it's each to their own. It's just Dallas and DC. I have clients who love them. I don't have international experience. I don't just trust them because I think it's like we're too close to Virginia, too many south. So it depends also on what airport you come through. Tell
Yes,
me
and
which airport. Yeah. And
yeah.
5-year-old, is the 5-year-old born here? If the 5-year-old is born here, did you
No,
use
it's born
Medicaid?
in Norway. In Norway.
Okay,
It's,
so if you had papers at that time in Norway, but and let me know what CBP asked about. But you did well. You did a redress. Yeah.
yeah, the officer was Indian, and she was fully racist. She put
So
some
you're thinking racism.
on
Yeah. Which airport?
person forced me to accept they were mine. I was not accepting. Then the lady came and said it's her cards. I was proved innocent. It was at Washington, D.C.
Ah, it's Dulles then, right? Yeah, I personally don't. I I don't want to ditch them because I really think if you want to be international, international, you cannot be that mean. These people are not thinking about business, but maybe give us exactly what kind of question they asked. So they all, you had a tourist, right? Your son have a Esther. The son is only 5 year old, so it's a problem. So your intent, you nerve back to the son. So it depends on how many times the son came, how many times you came, when did you get a tourist visa, when did you get it? Did you get it from Dubai, QAE, or did you get it from Pakistan? Or did you get it from Norwegian? What status were you when the son was born? And all? So all these are issues, but Dallas, sometimes it's bad luck. So I would go back to wherever issued the visa, show them your redress, show them, write down the question and answer. Maybe they'll give you a new visa.
Yeah, maybe the person was just in a bad mood that day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Airports are weird. Yeah. I
yeah,
always tell Indians not to come through New Jersey, but because of Pakistan, maybe New Jersey is good for you. Who knows, you know? And you're right. Sometimes there's a problem with Indians and Sikhs in
yeah.
Pakistan. Yeah.
The when my dad got to the asylum interview, the officer was Indian, and the attorney that came before my dad, that was in the office with another client. This person said to the attorney that my dad had, um, "Have you been with this officer before?" She said, "No." Okay, be ready. He's in a bad mood, and she prepared the other attorney. So I heard everything and I understood, but I played like I was not paying attention. So they took my dad and my mom into the office. They spent there 2.5 hours. And then the officer came out. He spoke to me and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I am his son." "Oh, what's your name?" "Juan Carlos." "Oh, you're the famous Juan Carlos." And I said, "Well, yeah." He asked the attorney, "Can I ask him some questions?" The attorney said, "If he's okay with that, I'm okay with that." And I said, "Okay, yes." So he asked me a couple questions that my dad was not very clear with. And then the asylum case was granted 2 weeks later. So
So fingerprints cleared. Congratulations.
he seemed to be in a bad mood, but in the end, he was nice to my dad. So I don't know. We
Yep.
never know.
Oh, we do the same thing. A lot of times I'll ask the lawyer in front of me, oh, how's the mood? You know, do you think this is good? Or if not, I'll just withdraw my request. It's you're right. It's like make sure they get their coffee, make sure they have their lunch. Sometimes before I sit down, I say, did you have your lunch? You want me to go back and wait when you have your lunch? Just to be nice about things. Or for
Yeah.
Jewish officers or Jewish judges, I'll say, did you buy your candles for the weekend? Because sometimes it's they didn't buy their candles and it's 4 o'clock and they have to get on a flight because Cleveland in the olden days we have circuit ride. That means we have judges coming from different places to sit for the whole week to listen to our cases, and it's just happy we know each other. We know what time they like to have their lunch, or at least I learned. I know what hotel they stay in. I know what time they have their lunch. I know what time their flight is. So you don't, you just do whatever it takes to win the case.
Yeah. So for
Yeah.
this person that, and I'm thankful, ma'am, that you are keeping asking questions. Our time is up for now, but just feel free to call. The phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984, or you can send an email to imwong.com. The email is office@imwong.com, office@imwong.com, and somebody will get in touch with you as soon as possible so that you can get a relief or a solution to your case. And I'm sure Ms. Wong will be able to find a solution for you. So thank you so much for getting in touch with us, Ms. Wong. And if I was a judge and you walk into my courtroom, I would be shaking. I would be
Oh, I wish. Oh my
so
gosh.
experience.
They couldn't wait to yell at me. Mrs. Wong, sit down. I said, okay. Because sometimes I'll walk up there because they look at their computer and they have color. My pictures have no color. They're asked, what blood is this? I say, Your Honor, I don't have blood in my picture. Sure you do. And so I want to walk up there and look at history. I forgot that, these we all friends, in the end. So Mrs. Wong, you sit down. I said, okay, sorry, Your Honor. You just do whatever it takes. Everybody get yelled at court. And
Oh,
sometimes the client said, oh, the judge doesn't like you. I said, don't worry about it. All we want is that win. Let them yell, let them scream.
okay. Thank you so much, Miss Wong. I really had fun today with this show with you. And looking forward to next week on Wednesday in the show in Spanish and next Thursday, the show in English. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. And don't
Bye bye.
forget to join us in every show that we have Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. In Spanish, and Thursday is at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The phone number, if you want to get in touch with the attorney Margaret W. Wong, is 216-279-3984. 216-279-3984. The best attorney in the East, and I would say maybe in the whole United States of America, Margaret W. Wong. She really knows about immigration. 45 years of experience can say it. And the phone number is 216-279-3984. Thank you so much and see you next time.